MakingStarWars.net.
You're scaring him, Jason. We can't hear you, Jason.
You can't hear me at all now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
The thing is going crazy. I don't know what it is. It's going crazy today. You're on the other side. I'm on this side. Like Thrawn's in the background now. I don't know what's happening. But anyways, I'm Jason Ward, MakingStarWars.net. And we are talking about Star Wars today because the videos didn't want to play right. But good thing this isn't a video show. I mean, we're video, but the rest isn't video. It's mostly a podcast. Kind of. But anyways, yeah, so today up front, we're going to talk about some of what the rumors of what we think is the ending of the Star Wars Ahsoka series and how that goes. A lot of the stuff has been kind of hinted around and talked about in the more recent stuff. So this is sort of like the kind of the end of those rumors, if you will, and that kind of jazz. And yeah, Nerd Mafia, thank you for the super chat. 49 super chat says Ahsoka's climax is this NC-17? No, it's the climax to the series. To the series, yes. Yes. Thank you, Nerd Mafia.
No, Jason, it's Mando pause. It's Mando pause. You know what
Mando
I'm saying?
pause.
We'll put a little pause on that.
Little
like 40s. You put a little.
Oh, like getting the vapors, like hot flashes and stuff.
Oh yeah, she gets Musta vapors. Know what I'm saying?
It ends with her going, I'm so hot. Can we turn on the air conditioner?
Ooh, ain't she?
All right. Here's the article.
Getting creepy.
Yeah, that's how it goes. All right. So this is the article that I wrote on MakingStarWars.net. And whoa, everything's going crazy today. So yeah, so the real article is called Rumors, the Star Wars Ahsoka climactic season ending. And then here's the video you're watching. So make sure you subscribe to the video and all that jazz, okay? It's good. And before we get into it, this is the one important thing. Save the cat. The official cat of the Making Star Wars show, Mohawk, seen below, he needs our help. He had some real big medical issues this week. And it's pretty expensive. And so down here's a link to the GoFundMe if you want to help Max out. It's Max's cat, who's on the show a lot, one of our co-hosts. And so yeah, if you want to help this guy Mohawk out, he's a little punk rocker. He comes on the show. He talks sometimes on the show. You can hear him. So anyways, yeah, it's appreciated. And if you can't, we understand because times are tough. So anyways, here's the rumor. This article is about what I have heard was filmed for what I believe to be the final episode of the first season of Ahsoka. The moment in question has to do with what my sources believe to be the final sequence from the series. Obviously, the series isn't done and the show isn't edited yet, so take it as the closing of the villain's character arc. From the sound of things, Star Wars Ahsoka is essentially going to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Mando era. This information is still trickling in, but the big beats have now been confirmed by multiple sources who acknowledge what I've heard is essentially the story. So if you are not into spoilers, what are you even doing here? That's what I said. And yeah, and just to be clear, because of the stupid, like, it wasn't really that big of a deal, but like yesterday, you know, like I wrote about stuff from what I believe to be the finales of Mandalorian. And so I write this article and I'm like, yeah, like the mythosaur is there. The mythosaur it wakes up. The mythosaur wakes up. Bo-Katan is like going to become like their like leader. She's uniting the clans. It's going to be great. Like, you know, I'm talking about like all of this stuff that's like in that. I like say that in the things I've written, and then people remember things how they want to. Hey, none of that's happening. Like, it's like, did you see a mythosaur wake up? Is Bo-Katan, you know, uniting the clans? Has the finale aired yet? And so on.
Yes,
you know?
Santa
Claus
talking shit.
So anyways, yeah, it's one of those things, like we're in these articles, you could just like, you know, you could write your armor up all you want, but you can't necessarily beat people who misremember. You can't beat the people who misunderstand, or the people who are just too lazy to read the article and let somebody on Reddit tell them about what I said half-assed. And then so it's better if you let me read you the article or you read it yourself. Like a
well, what's great, Jason, is
is you actually write all this stuff down as opposed to just say it. So
Mhm.
when someone says you said this, you go, no, here's the article dated. That's when I actually wrote this shit down.
Yeah.
It's not a he said, she said, they said. It's fucking like October 21st, 2022. Blah 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 blah. That's what I wrote. Dipshit.
Mm.
Like there it is.
Yeah, and that is like the other thing is like on the show, I always try to like give like a little bit of extra, but what I put on in writing is precisely what I intended to say if if I'm not writing like shit.
It's
If
the
I'm
record.
Yeah, it's the record, and, like, on here, for instance, did we ever speculate that the clan leader that we're gonna see, it might be Doc Brown? Yeah, we did, but we didn't say it was Doc Brown in the article, because if I had it was Doc Brown, that would have been an article, like, for sure, or, you know what I mean? Or if I had the role, which I never had who he was. In the end, it was Big Red Button Loser, number 1.
And by the way, there have been other old crusty guys in the Mando series.
Right.
Werner Herzog was like in the first or second episode.
Well, this is in
As an
season
old
3.
crusty guy.
And like I said,
But I'm just
like
saying, like
yeah,
we've had old crusty guys before. It ain't like you just saw one, aging Christopher Lloyd. Like, there's an old crusty guy, you
right.
shameful bastard. Leave him alone.
Well,
So like,
because
so
no, because
it's
because
funny.
I spoke to people who were on the shoot, and they all said of the same form of that same thing. There's two kind of leader oldish guys. One guy's old crusty guy or old crusty guy, whatever. And it was like so I put that in there, and people were like, "Oh, that was already supposed to have happened." Like, no, it was. I always said this was like from like the finale. Like, for instance, I didn't think we were going to get anything that I've talked about, like the Mythosaur. IG-11, I didn't think we were going to get any of that stuff until the end. Like anything about it whatsoever. I thought that was all going to come at the very end because that's where I knew it came in. And you know how Favreau writes. Usually it's like I have an idea and then it's there. It's just like is he just like does it right then. There's not like a lot of lead up to a lot of the shit so far. So with that said, I have prefaced the article. Shit happens. All right. The first thing I ever reported on the Making Star Wars show, and this is something I reported on this show about Star Wars Ahsoka, was they were building the Ghost cockpit for the series. I couldn't help but think about that as I heard the ending. The show is more than a Star Wars Rebels sequel. I have a little typo, but for Rebels fans, I don't think they could ask for more. In recent reports, I have laid out how the Night Sister Morgan Elsbeth is building something, a huge vessel most likely, to bring Thrawn back from an unknown place beyond the Outer Rim. This witch will take a fallen Jedi, Balon, and his apprentice Shin with her. The first 4 episodes are about New Republic stuff with Ahsoka and Sabine. The final 4 episodes are about trying to save Thrawn and Ezra. The first big point I wanted to address is I am hearing the good guys fail in the first season of Star Wars Ahsoka. To the best of my knowledge, this means while on the mission to rescue Ezra Bridger, Ahsoka and Sabine inherit a secondary mission to stop Grand Admiral Thrawn and his cronies from returning to the core of the galaxy. Thrawn does return at the end, at what I believe is the climax of the 8th and final episode of the season. The second big point is a huge moment where Thrawn exits his ship Gantry, I think, back from the unknown region, with his forces all laid out before him like a badass. Thrawn takes in the moment, looks at his allies, including the powerful Night Sisters, fallen Jedi, stormtroopers held together by magic, and his gold-faced bodyguard Enoch. I don't know what his dialogue is verbatim, but sources have said Thrawn revels in the moment. His vision has been realized, and he promises a reckoning is coming. We then know there's going to be hell to pay, and that's the end. This is how I think the first season of Star Wars Ahsoka ends based on the information I have at the moment. Thrawn is ready to take on a faltering New Republic and take back the galaxy. Most likely, the allies who sprung him from the far reaches of space have been a part of a power play he had cooking for years. Simply put, the good guys failed to stop the bad guys. The bad guys return with an array of evil allies. Bad guys are going to make the good guys pay for their complacency. Dun dun dun. So I had a lot of typos in this article. The general consensus was Stormcrow, the code for Ahsoka, was multiple seasons while shooting. It would seem likely that this story will pick up in the second season of the series. However, I cannot help but consider how Sabine returns to the core with Mandalore in a much different situation than when she left it last. Will she be the one to bring the Mandalorians into the fight? And then we are not totally sure when the second season is slated to film or if the powers that be are waiting to see how the series does. But these bad guys returning affect the situation, or will these bad guys returning affect the situation on Skeleton Crew? Are they out there as far as Thrawn, or just in the path of his return in the aftermath? Will they cross paths at all? These are all the questions that I have, and there's like a lot of possibilities that are fun here. So that's what is, I think, going to happen. They are going to try to save Ezra, and their bad guys are trying to save Thrawn. They're going to end up fighting in that weird place, but Thrawn does make it back, and he makes it back with all of his forces. And it's gonna, it's gonna end with like the oh shit moment of they're screwed. Like the galaxy is gonna get rushed, and it's not gonna end well. So what, in terms of just like a plot thing, I've always been afraid that Thrawn wouldn't live up to the villain that you can get in a novel, where you're able to like get inside of his head and hear what he's thinking and all that kind of shit, And in this show, at least, I don't know if we do for sure or not, but I know that at the end, when he comes with these tools to attack the Republic, that he will at least be effective in that, like, he has the weapons, he has the tools that will challenge the heroes that we know exist in the moment. So yeah, what are you thinking, Rob? What are you thinking?
I'm trying to be positive.
Jon Favreau didn't write it.
That's true. That's why I'm 60-40 positive. How about that? 60-40. I think after a good trailer could get me up to 70-30, right?
Okay.
Like, I think the thing that gives me the most hope is the Filoni episode with Ahsoka and Michael Biehn and Elsbeth, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought all that was really good. Like
right.
There were, especially it was the non-speaking parts when he allowed, like, just even like when they're fighting and they pause, and like it's that pacing I thought was excellent. And I think with someone like Thrawn, if you can't write a really like intelligent character, which is not easy to do, very few people can write characters that appear intelligent, then have them speak less and let the actor portray intelligence. And I think, if Lars Mikkelsen is the one, Lars Mikkelsen, I get all the Mikkelsens.
Lars Mikkelsen is the one, yeah.
Yeah, I get the Mikkelsens and the Skarsgårds all fucking mixed up. Like,
right.
Leah Mikkelsen, Leah Thompson Mikkelsen, Skarsgård. When she plays Thrawn, I think that that cat he can portray intelligence with just sitting there in a room. So that is the hope that they'll cover that end,
Right.
I just hope that when it's got to fall apart for Thrawn at some point, right? Because obviously the First Order shows up. It's when that falls apart eventually that I'm like, man, I hope they isn't like a bumblefuck. You know what I mean?
Or
that's a legit trap. Like I do like how, like, when to make an analogy to Breaking Bad, when Gustav Fring, gets blown up by Hector Salamanca, like, spoilers. You don't think Fring's an idiot. Like, he got, you know what I mean? His ego got the best of him in a situation, like it's a legitimate trap. And so that there is a way to do that, and not make the villain appear like this idiot shouldn't have died. He should have been the best ever. Like, it can, because it's gonna fall apart for Thrawn at some point, right? Like,
well, of course. I mean, yeah, we know he doesn't like become the emperor of the galaxy and stuff like that. But I mean, we don't really know to what extent and how far this will go, and we don't know what's going to get in the way when it happens. Like, we could have, this could be a 5-year long war, and if it is, for instance, if that's how it went in this instance, That's still like longer than the Clone Wars. Clone Wars were 3 years, and look at like the amount of content that was like literally generated from that one idea. And so,
Almost
but
unrealistically so.
not in terms of the series, no, not in terms of the series, but I
Almost.
mean, but the thing about where we're going, the big question that I have is, for instance, like I know that there's those red Praetorian looking Mandos. I know that there's those First Order looking sort of visored stormtroopers that serve Gideon. All of these are with Gideon, and so Gideon is going to kind of be the, I don't know. He's definitely absorbed in the First Order in some way. I don't know how, to what extent, but he is in some way, right? But like I saw Meg speculating today that like Snoke is going to come at the end. I think she's even like implying he is, but I have no idea if Snoke is going to come at the end. I kind of Mando. I kind of doubt he's going to be in Mando at all this season, personally. But if Snoke was to show up, then that would radically change what we think is how this is going to play out in this series as it moves on. Then things change now. What does that mean? Does that mean that if there's going to be Imperials fighting Imperials, does it mean that they're going to merge up? Are they all on the same page? Like there's all of these different kinds of like things that will come into the show at some point.
Ben Solo hasn't even been born yet, right?
No, he's like 5. He's like 5 years old right now.
He's 5. So I mean, how long was Snoke running around before Ben got turned?
Well, the thing about it is the Snoke clones, like the project has been around. We don't know exactly when it began, and it's Palpatine doing it. So you could literally have the Snoke clone show up at the last minute, and Palpatine's been playing with this, putting the voices in his head of Snoke the whole time. Stuff like that. It's possible. Or just lying and saying he's Snoke, like how how Pazuzu, says he's, what does Pazuzu say its name is? An Exorcist, Captain Jack or something, Captain Handy. I can't remember, something like that. But in the Exorcist, it has like a real cute name, like I'm Captain Applejack, and it's like, but I'm really Pazuzu, bitch. So
haven't watched The Exorcist since 1999. So
yeah,
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, but anyways, yes. So I'm not really like I said, I got the Praetorians. That's all I got, though. I don't have Snoke in there. And when I look at that other stormtrooper, I see early First Order motifs in the armor, which makes me think, there's more scout trooper motifs in that armor than there is First Order trooper motifs, though, for like what it's worth. So I kind of think that we're just moving into a place where eventually all of that stuff is going to get absorbed. But I think the idea on the grander scale here is that this attack and this war is what allows the First Order to amass what it does at the time that it does, and it's what adds that new layer of complacency about wanting to engage with them when they're out there. They're in the periphery and they're not here, and we're tired of this shit. We don't want to engage. And then why Leia starts the Secret Resistance.
That sort of stuff just has to be in the narrative. It can't just be something that they throw out there and show you in a scene. Look, they're out there. Yeah. Like it has to feel like a looming threat in the series. It can't just be like in an episode, oh look, they're out there, and then come back 6 episodes later and then they show up and you're like, no, we told you. Remember in episode 2, they were in that one scene and that covered all the bases.
Yeah, it has to feel like Carson Teva warns of it, like kind of, right? That's, but is he warning of this or is he warning of that? I don't know. But yeah.
Well, in the same way, and I'm not to bring up Andor every time, but like the way the Imperial presence felt like once you get to know those intelligence guys, you don't feel it at first when you're walking around with Andor, like on a Blade Runner planet. But when you spend time with those intelligence cats, by the 4th or 5th episode, you feel those, like you're always being watched, right? You feel that they feel they're being watched.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, so
it's
like
called atmosphere.
Yeah, but to achieve that, is a directorial and showrunner effort. Like that, you have to. That's not something that just miraculously happens because you insert a shot of Imperial base in one scene and then you feel that. That's a tension.
Yeah, you got some stormtroopers. They walk by. Like, oh my god, I'm being watched everywhere. It's an age of imperialism.
All right, Mike Porter. All right.
But yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, they're setting up an era. They're doing things that I think are big. There's like things that are going to change what we're going into. I feel like if this stuff is as it sounds, we're going to have like a, like I said, I think we're might be getting like a new Clone Wars. Not clones. I don't mean the clones are coming back. I mean, we're getting a new like huge galactic wide skirmish with heroes and a whole thing. And yeah, they won't mention it in the sequel trilogy, but why would they? They didn't need to. They didn't discuss about how they failed, about how they let it go lazy. They completely sidestepped the whole thing. So it allows them to do almost whatever they want. That's the only advantage to that lazy bit of that trilogy. That's the only advantage to it, is that now they can do this big thing. And I think I think it's kind of cool in a lot of ways, because especially, I mean, if you like the television shows but you don't like the sequel trilogy, then this should be great news for you, because this is basically what you were hoping to get post Return of the Jedi anyways. Thrawn's coming back with, I mean, I don't mean you specifically,
Depends
Rob,
on who's writing
but
all of it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Depends.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like of the opinion that, like, Dave Filoni he does some good cartoons. I don't know, and then the live action stuff is like that he's directed hasn't been bad, but I'm not like, oh yeah, if Favreau left and Filoni just took it all, it would be better. I don't even think I'm there. I don't think anybody knows.
I think Star Wars is at its best when there's just a right collaborative crew, whatever that crew is. I think Star Wars gets into its weirdest spot for good and for bad. Like, there's some amazing moments when one auteur is calling all the shots, and there's more. Why did that not work? Why did that sync up when it's just one person? When Lucas had the right amount of collaborators, you end up with the best versions of all that. When Lucas is retreating backwards and doing just what he wants, then you get the more 50-50 split kind of thing, So Star Wars is just weird because it literally is what we would call Americana design, like the melting pot of stuff. It's a giant smorgasbord of things thrown in, and it can lean this way, it can lean that. Yeah. So when some folks go, I like it more serious, I like it more cartoony, I'm like, I understand all that. Where it goes off track is when it becomes almost like self referential is not quite the word I'm thinking about, like self parodying, right? You just don't want it to parody itself.
Yeah.
Star Wars should not be a parody. It's not a parody. Spaceballs is a parody. Star Wars is not a parody. It can invoke things that are cheesy, but it needs to take those things that were cheesy and give it a sense of tangibility and realism to it.
Remember the line from Hux in the Duel of the Fates script? It was like, because you lost the Star War. Something like that. No, don't do that.
I know.
Don't do it.
I know.
But yeah.
I was almost waiting for them to yell, "The clones are attacking!" And the Techno Union runs out. Don't do that. Like Darth Maul saying we'll have our revenge in the Phantom Menace is where you put that. You don't put it in the movie called Revenge of the Sith. You imagine if Bruce Willis goes, man, if we're gonna die hard, right? And then goes off to save his wife.
Fuck yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Winslow, we're gonna die hard.
If you go in there, John, you might die. If I do, I'm gonna die hard. Like, you could just see that some bullshit. Like, you just don't want to do that. So
sometimes, Angela, I gotta ask, who's the boss, right?
Yeah.
But
anyway. I've always felt this, Loba, and I've said this on the show like many times. Loba says, I believe the term you're looking for is making Star Wars is hard. Yeah, we really said that. That's why I get scared when before season 3 comes out, Favreau goes, I already wrote season 4. I'm like, what? Like, it can't be that easy.
Yeah.
If he had a team, fine, but I can't believe one guy just wrote 8 more hours of Star Wars in the last 16 hours of Star Wars in a year. I don't. come on, man. Like, let's be a little
I mean,
skeptical about how the quality of what that could be. You know, like,
yeah.
I could write 16 hours of Mario movie in a year. I'm not saying you
Oh
should go
yeah.
make it. You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there's a chance that during the pandemic, when not a lot was going on, he just sat there and wrote an episode a day of a draft of things. There's a chance. I don't know, but there's a chance that's what happened. And you know, there was the problem, like, or my complaint about Mando season 3 actually isn't what most people's complaints are. I don't think. Like, I'm actually like kind of on board. Like the one with, like, I think Bespin calls the one with the kid in the gullet. I think he calls that like the worst one for him. And like, I'm cool with that. It was fine. Like, I was having fun. Like, dumb Mando's doing dumb shit, doing for dumb reasons. I'm like, fine. I could fuck with this, is what I'm trying to say. But so my problem with the season is we get 8 episodes, like, every couple of years, and 6 of them are like the actual, like, premise. One of them was Coruscant, and one of them was Jack Black and Lizzo. And it's just like, that's a lot of real estate out of this season that went to kind of tomfoolery or stuff that's not really what the show is.
in screenwriting terms, or Save the Cat, not Max's Save the Cat, but the book Save the Cat, which sort of breaks a lot. Save the Cat, the book Save the Cat, takes a lot of writing tropes and breaks them into catchphrases, but they would call that fun and games. Like, the fun and games part of a movie or a series would be where, like, the Goonie or the Monster Squad is like just, having little mini adventures as the Monster Squad before the monsters show up, kind of thing, and so when you're like 6 episodes deep into an 8 episode series that took 2 years to get here, and you're having fun in games, you know what I mean? In that you're like, what are we doing? Like, this is a first episode, scenario.
Yeah.
This is not a 6 episode before, random. It's just structurally, I've been very consistent. Favreau's structure for this season and for the Book of Boba Fett is insanely weird. I make no heads or tails of it, other than he doesn't. I have to assume at this point, because he doesn't talk about his writing process ever. I can't find one article.
He
he's
just
never
gets
been on
softball.
Jeff Golds. He's never.
They only go with people who will give him softball questions. I mean, I don't mean to like knock them, but
Jeff Goldsmith would give him sort of what perceived softball questions. Jeff Goldsmith's very good at.
Was that the dude who had Gilroy on? Yeah.
Yeah, Gilroy.
Yeah, it was good.
He's very good.
Yeah,
he's very good. He knows how to get to meat, but he does it in a very non-threatening. Not like me. I'd be like, "Motherfucker, explain yourself."
I've worked with better,
beats me,
but not
like,
many.
He's twice my weight. He just beats the shit out of me, and then everyone goes, "That's the best video we ever saw." Or Sketchcraft got the shit kicked out of by Favreau.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he doesn't like to layer things. He does everything here, and then over here, and then over here, and now it's time for this. And it's like, if it was layered more, it would diminish, as Lucas would say, it would diminish the effects, right? It's a Lucas term, but it would feel like more is happening in less time, or I don't know what the phrase I'm trying to. It just wouldn't feel like we're taking forever to get somewhere. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of, it's weird because we're following like this one plot, and then it moves around and stuff. But when we get to this moment where Homeboy comes back, where Thrawn comes back, and if this is like a big deal, Chris Breezy says, Super Chat, does Enoch have a gold head? Yeah, I believe he does. I believe he looks like Destro, kind of like a samurai Destro from G.I. Joe, and he's gold. I heard he was gold. And so if he is gold, C-3PO better watch out. And thank you, Chris, for the super chat, man. I appreciate it, dude. Anyways, what I was going to say was, when we get into this like bigger kind of like war going on, I think it does sort of like give a backdrop for there to be like Star Wars going on with all of these different ideas. Like, for instance, is it interesting to have a story about kids in school who end up like lost in space during the New Republic era, where everything's great, and Jude Law is just teaching them about fake stuff, and we're learning about fake stuff together, and the little fat elephant's farting, you know. But or is it cool if there's like actually a war going on, like an actual like thing, you know what I mean? Like, and that show, obviously, I don't expect it to be fucking Andor, you know what I mean? Like with that level of that, but you have this backdrop now, and I just think that it could make things more interesting, more fun, and the fact that it goes through multiple different shows, like so like that's kind of like where my head's at, and I don't know what they're going to do entirely. Like I've talked to people who have told me what they think they're going to do, and that's kind of what I'm using to base my ideas off of. But it sounds like, for instance, like we would have the Mandalorians are going to have their own angle in that war, their own side that they're having to fight. So I kind of like almost chalk it up to like the Mandalorians are going to be fighting some of the war of the actual like physical like let's fight stormtroopers kind of side. But you can't really send the Mandalorians in necessarily to fight like the Jedi and magic users, and then that's where you have Ahsoka and you have Ezra Bridger and like the people with force powers like Luke Skywalker and stuff. That's where they would come in, I think. So
not for nothing too. I was thinking, like Carson. I call him Carson, but it's Carson. I call him Carson.
Carson Daly.
Yeah, I call him Carson. It's just easier for me. I'm not saying Sin Daly. I don't remember it. But if he just had like a B story or a C story, like if there was 3 stories in season 3, Mando and Bo, right, kind of tie them together. Carson Daly, and then Pershing were 3 stories, right? If those were 3 things we're going across. Even this robot thing could have been something Carson was dealing with. You know what I mean? As a B story.
Yeah.
Like why we just stick with Mando and these different tribes of Mandos trying to get them together. Like if Bo was with the cult, or I don't know, if Bo and her were like teamed up in some way to have to try and get them together, like all these things, man. It's just
Carson.
It's so frustrating.
Carson and Zeb would have been good in that last that would have been better in that last episode.
Right. So like, I just want folks to know, like, I don't look at it and go, it's all shit, fire them. You don't know what they're doing. Yeah. I think these are all good ideas, but you need more people at the table to structure and reorganize and say, look, if this is going to be an ensemble show now called The Mandalorian, let's lay out in the first episode the 3 POVs we're going through. We got the Mandos, which is represented by Din and Bo. We got the fucking New Republic side, which is Carson and Zeb, and then we got the Imperial remnants, right? Which is because there's always a bad guy POV in Star Wars, which is Pershing, and then maybe later on Gideon, right? Because like, remember Amy Hennig when she was developing the fucking Star Wars game that you broke all the concept art from?
Oh, Ragtag.
When she was developing Ragtag, she did an interview with Tom Price, and she was saying that the difference between something like Indiana Jones, which is what she was emulating when she helped create Uncharted, and Star Wars, is that in Indiana Jones, you don't spend any time with the villains. You always spend it with Indiana Jones, with the good guys. Like you always see it. You never see it from like what's Hitler doing right now?
What's he up to?
Yeah, you don't like in Inglourious Basterds when they cut to Hitler. Like you don't have those scenes. But in Star Wars, you have those spending time with the bad guy scenes. So I think if you had those 3 POV set up in the first episode, then you can jump across. Maybe it's 2 in one episode, 1 for half an episode, and then 3 in another episode, and then they all culminate together at the end. That's where it starts to feel like Star Wars. That's when it starts to feel like these different storylines, collate together. But right now, man, it's like Favreau doesn't seem to do that, like it's everything's like 1 and then 1 and then, I mean, we haven't even seen Dr. Pershing in 3 episodes. You imagine if someone comes in now and then Pershing shows up and they're like, what was that? Well, in episode 3, there was a whole 40-minute bit with this guy you just like you forget about, it's so weird.
I just wanted him to figure out why Grogu was there, man. That's all I wanted. But
I'm trying to figure out how Carson knew R5 was with Mando.
Because
like, still haven't been.
I told you they text. They went to the war after the war. He's like, "How you doing, buddy? I'm checking in on you. I know that you have night terrors, R5D4, after all of the stuff that you saw. I know you lost your motivator at one point.
Droid night
yeah,
terrors.
he does. And so
He's just sleeping and goes out of his dead sleep. R5 goes, wow, like R2, right? Just...
so it was just a coincidence. He's like, where are you? He's all them with the Mandos now in this secret planet where they park
Sure.
outside so you can't find
Yeah,
their
yeah,
ship. But
yeah. I know. I know. I know. Don't
the
get me started.
the young boomer says, if this goes ahead, the New Republic really are going to be massive dummies for still decommissioning the fleets afterward and getting attacked by the First Order. Yeah, I mean, either way you cut it, it would be a tactical error, and in the Star Wars universe, it would be a stupid move. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's because you know the ending, though, young boomer. Like, you know how this plays out. In the same way that if we watched a series about World War One, and in August of 2004, of 1914, they were all celebrating going to war. They called it August Madness, which is where March Madness comes from. When everyone like rallies for the big playoff, the war, it's because everyone was celebrating. We're going to war. It's gonna be great. We're gonna fight. We haven't had a war in a long, not since Napoleon. This is gonna be awesome. We'll be back by Christmas, just like Russia and Ukraine. We're back by Christmas. Everything's gonna be great. And it went horribly wrong. So you know what a folly that is, right? Knowing the ending. So
I think we were a
that's
lot like cooler with it before we had Star Wars, and we got to kind of like maybe get some of that. Like, yeah, that's fun out through here. But back then, there's like, nah, we just got to actually go do that shit. Yeah, you got to just go try to do some shit with your man.
It's horrific. Yeah, it's truly horrific. I really recommend for a just a primer on World War One was Dan Carlin did a series. I think you can pick up like a few bucks. He did a series on that. I've listened to way more extensive stuff than that, but he is a really good primer for World War One. Just in like the shock and the trauma, like when the Germans invaded Belgium, no one had ever in the history of mankind had experienced catastrophic warfare, like nonstop shells and bombing, like just the concussions that everyone was getting, you know, and just in those type of never ending shell battle. Like shell shock is like a really kind term compared to what they were going through. It was severely traumatic. So,
and that turned them in. How does this relate to the Ninja Turtles? I'm confused.
Well, when Splinter was taken, Shredder beat the shit out of Splinter for like half the third of the movie. Remember, third of the Turtles movie is just Shredder just kicking the shit out of a fucking Muppet rat, right? And we're just going, oh no,
oh no, the rat's eyes falling out.
Those were Shredder's fun and games in the script. That's where Shredder has a good time, right? Just punches the shit out of Kevin Clash. So, you know, he might have had it coming though.
Yeah, no, I do think like you have a point though, like to what young boomer is saying, like if you did watch Star Wars in order, starting at the Phantom Menace, for instance, and then you watch the Clone Wars, and then you watched, you know, the episode 3, and then you went and watched 4, 5, and you watched Andor, then you went and watched 4, 5, and 6, you'd be like, oh yeah, you know what, I think maybe you should take this war machine apart, and like, you know, I could see where she's coming from, why this is a good, and why everybody should protect their own little galaxies, and there shouldn't be a centralized military power and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I could also understand the perspective if we were living in that galaxy, in terms of when a giant pizza flies above you and it just like fucks up everything all the time. You can't really get into the giant pizzas and then fly pieces of pizza and fly over places, and then they're like, oh hey, they're cool now. Like you would have to destroy it as a symbol. You would have to get rid of it, and those things are all very symbolic looking, I would say. Like you know a Star Destroyer when you see one, you know, a TIE fighter when you see one. So the good guys, I don't think, could ever adopt their things and then really have a healthy mind in the people that they were governing. I don't think.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I wish someone like Macquarie was helping to steer this kind of story, because he's a good balance between the action figure and the historical, you know. Just because like this sort of geopolitical maneuvering can be, I mean, you can't come at it in a, when I say comic book, I'm not knocking comics, I draw comics, but sometimes in comics, due to just the sheer volume of work you got to do in the time, you don't have the time to go be a student for like 5 years on something before you write about it. You you kind of just have to jump up. What are the bullet points? You look up
Research.
your research is like a day. You know what I mean? And then you get the story across, and all the specifics to historical stuff are like layering on top of it. They're toppings. The meat is really the story you're trying to write, and get across in an issue. But I think with this, fans have, because they have books and they have comics and they have all these other movies, they're expecting more. So you got to bring people who are in that are more historically minded and are used to writing things that have historical bits
Yeah.
put into them,
That's why Gilroy was so good for Andor. He reads things about revolution for fun when he's taking a shit. And so it's like, so I mean, that's what he's into though, and then that's what made him,
Right.
I think, the right guy for the project. Like,
Unless you
amazing.
completely fucking ignore history and you make up your own, like Tarantino, you can do that too,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Like
Yeah.
but you have to then lean into parody genre, or
Yeah.
subversion genre, and
But
that's
with
not what
like,
Star Wars.
yeah, with like Star Wars, you're trying to find like, where can I place the archetypes? Like, where would the archetypes be in this history? Like Vel, where's Vel? That person, that rich kid who ends up becoming like a key player in a resistance movement. Where is that kid? And it's only when you actually know the history, as he does, that you start, I think, to draw those. Yeah, there is always one of those trust fund babies who kind of funds the initial stuff, but also is fucking nuts, that kind of stuff.
I also suspect Ryan Johnson would be pretty good at this too.
Yeah.
Just having listened to him talk, I think he's pretty educated about these topics, whether he puts them directly in his work or not. So, you know, I know some people think that's a contentious thought, but like,
It's
you got to
not.
be careful, folks, about when you think this guy made this, so I don't like it, or this person made that, and I means I'm always gonna like everything they make. Like
Yeah.
I just said, not but back on Monday, be careful about wanting Bryce Dallas Howard to do everything, because one day she'll make something you don't like, and then you're gonna be like, never again, and that's not fair to Bryce Dallas Howard. In the same way that Taika
Sure.
Waititi won a fucking Oscar, you know what I mean? And now you're like, but then he made Love and Thunder. You don't
Oh,
know.
I have
Like, these are
I have a potential good thing here with Gilroy. I'm balls and all. I'm going all the way down. I'm there. But when he does Andor 2, he is like, during the back end of Andor 1, they decided, oh, let's make it 3 seasons instead of 5. Then they decided, let's make it 2 seasons instead of 3. And then we're going to end up with 2 seasons. So next Andor, we're going to have some truncating stuff, some things that could have been delved into, compression that just didn't happen. Or we're going to have,
I'm worried about that too.
Or like we're going to be like, Saw Gerrera, why was that even there? Because it doesn't really play in any of this now. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? Like, that there might be like that.
I think, and look, I'm not trying to sign people's life up for more work. As an artist, people are like, Rob, you should go do a 3,000 page graphic novel. Like that's like 10 years of my life, man. Like, what are you doing? But and I get Gilroy's older, but I do think 3 seasons would have been a good compromise to get everything in somehow.
He has 2 choices right now. The first one is start a band with me, and the second one is just to make more Andor anyways. That's what I'd say. It's up to me.
Look, if you're at I'm not saying he's at the tail end of his career. He's at the stage of his life where, just statistically speaking, you got less years in front of you than the back.
Yeah.
So like,
the mullet of life.
At this point, like, for me, if it were me in his position, even having done the Bourne idea and everything else, I'd be like, people are going to remember this. So I'd rather spend the last remaining of my years putting all these ideas into something that's going to affect kids for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years probably, versus this esoteric thing that I did once because it was a dream project, but then like 10 people fucking ever saw it. You know what I mean? Like, I had the chance to get that really artsy shit out in the world years ago, and it, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. So now I got to work those ideas into something I got to bake it into something that's going to fucking stand the test of time, just because this company is financially motivated to keep it up forever, like,
right.
So like that's that, but I mean, I can't, tell people what to do with their lives. And so,
well, like I was saying, like with JJ, you came in, you did it, everybody loved you. You should have just left well. If I was a creative in that kind of thing with like who wanted a career outside of Star Wars, I would just fucking, if I did it good, I'd just be like, thanks, it was a pleasure, and you'd never see me again. And then like
Especially
Gilroy
after
came
the
back and did a good job, but you know, that's an exception.
it's an exception, and he'd already been on like weird. When I say troubled, making the Bourne movies were not easy.
Hmm.
That first one especially. Um, I mean, I saw a cut of that a year before it came out. I want to say maybe 8 months, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That was almost twice as long as the theatrical cut.
Mhm.
It was like 3 to almost 3 hours long, like over 3 hours. Like it was long,
Yeah.
and I was like, whatever this is, it's cool. They gotta trim it the fuck down, But
Yeah.
and then look, man, I was the only one in the theater for Born Legacy. Like I was the only one in there. So like, and I still think it's
It
cool, but
bombed.
it's more
It
of a
bombed. It bombed hard, or
yeah. I didn't do very well.
okay.
It Bourne was identified with Matt Damon, and when you don't have Matt Damon in it, then what's the point? Like that's basically
Oh,
what
okay.
people thought.
It's that one. Okay.
I think it's the movie that I think it's less of a movie and more of a setup for a whole like series you could do like outside of a film. Like
Yeah.
but whatever. I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just it may as well if that had been the Treadstone series they made instead of the Treadstone series they made, that would have been a great Amazon Prime like style series.
Right. Right. What is sort of, I don't know if what they're setting up will exclusively always be what they play with, and I mean Favreau and Filoni. But like, that's sort of like where when you get into this kind of stuff, like I would love for somebody like Gilroy to come along and to delve into a Clone War story. Not, you know what I mean? About like do their own Andor version during the Clone Wars or this, that kind of stuff. But I do kind of think that what they're creating is sort of like their playground. I don't know if anybody else will have a chance to fuck around with it. But I do think that it probably does, or it could lead to the thing that you want more than anything we've had so far, which is like essentially a Mando movie. You know what I mean? When you end up having like
Well,
this long
I
drawn
thought
out setup, and then you kind of could climb. Then maybe they will turn it into a movie someday. Maybe it will climax with one. I doubt it, but it's possible. More than just
yeah, I
a
mean, I
rando
just want
idea.
people to understand. I thought the Mando movies where you go after the end of season 2,
Yeah.
not Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff. I just thought that's where you put, and then you start the Bo-Katan Mando side of the adventures on Disney Plus, and you move
Mhm.
Mando to
Book of
a
Bo.
cinematic thing. Book of Bo, yeah, Book of Bo. Book of Bo-Katan. Like that
Mhm.
has the same ring to it, man. Like
Yeah.
that actually would have made more sense because then you could have adapted the parts of her life that were in animation to live action. So people who don't have never fucking seen those cartoons, like myself and everyone I know, would know why we care about this shit or why she should rule her people. Other than it being Katie Sackhoff. Like,
Oh, do you want a spoiler
so.
from the next episode? In the next episode, it's revealed that Bo-Katan's middle name is Chris. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But remember when he played the little chimp?
Yeah, I
But
remember when he
anyway,
was an undercover brother.
yeah, yeah. Uh oh, uh oh, yeah.
He got his
That
soul
one,
on. Wasn't good.
yeah. Those guys in The Hangover thought they had it bad with how the 10 years changed. Well, you didn't have Chris Kattan bad, but
Yeah,
yeah.
he was the one part of that film I woefully miscast. This guy, like,
Yeah.
love the movie, but Chris Kattan.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not, I heard on SNL like he's kind of an asshole to most people. Did you hear
I heard that too.
did you hear that
Yeah,
thing with Donald Glover where he said that Tina Fey told him he was a diversity hire on 30 Rock? Yeah. I was like,
no,
really?
really?
I don't think he would make that shit up. But I was like, man, I thought Tina Fey was just hot and nice. That's what I thought. Little did I know she's
I don't think
pretty
you
mean.
can be too nice when you're a comedian. There's an inherent, people like to make jokes have an inherent mean side to them. They enjoy a little bit of the suffering, Jason. They're suffering, other
Because
people
they're
suffering.
suffering too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. It's not just other people's, just in general.
Yeah. Yeah. anyways, yeah, that Lando story, I just keep seeing it everywhere now from yesterday, and I'm just like that the basically the gist as it's being reported it is Donald Glover wants to do Lando. That's what we talked about yesterday. But when you look at what Kathleen Kennedy's saying, she's like, it's all in Donald's court. The ball's in Donald's court. So it's never going to happen. The Lando story, unless something amazing happens, I don't think it's ever going to happen. I'm hoping there's some that this is a ruse, and that at Celebration in a couple of days they go, guess what? Lando and the plethora of 69 chicks is coming to Disney Plus. You know, and like, all right, cool. But I don't think it's going to happen at all. I think that one is off the table. And I think, but when I look at what we have coming this year with Acolyte, like we're going to see something from Acolyte. I'm pretty sure we're going to see something from Acolyte at Celebration, because the Amanda Stenberg, the lead actor, has said that more is coming soon. Celebration's like this week, so I think we're going to see something from Acolyte then. But Acolyte, it's not sounding like it's a young adult show. It's not sounding like it's sounding like I don't want to use the Andor term, but I think it's more of that high quality, high production, very serious kind of story. So like when you look at like what we have coming like in the next year or the next round of shows, like, and what's going to happen beyond that, I don't really even think that they have room for that Lando show to go into production in the slate with the amount of shows that they're currently making. Doesn't seem possible to me. So in my opinion, that won't happen, but that's just a bet, just a bet. We won't hear anything, but we're not, but we're going to have actual official news from Celebrations coming like within the week. And for that reason, I think it starts Friday. I think it starts this Friday, doesn't it?
Tomorrow or next week?
Well, hold on, right here. I'm showing something on the screen. I'm showing on the screen right here. Wait, if it will show it, come on. Here we go. There we go. So live, this is from Bespin Bulletin. Live blog of the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase at Star Wars Celebration. And what day is that one on? Does he give the date? Come on, where's it at, Bespin? I can't see. I can't read, Bespin. I can't read. Yeah, he doesn't. Too small. The text is too damn small. You're right.
The text is too damn small.
Actually,
I've missed the rent. That motherfucker was right. The rent was too damn high in 2009, and it's too damn high now. I love that guy.
All right, Star Wars Celebration is April 7th. So tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Why does it feel like it's a week away, man?
Yeah, I was making sure. I thought it was tomorrow, but I was making sure I wasn't messing that up. Yeah, because I know he's traveling. Like he's going down there like pretty soon. So, but so anyways, yeah. So point being though, Bespin is going to be inside of the studio showcase. They're not doing.
He's in the walls.
Well, they're not doing any like streaming of it because they're not streaming anything that's important. And
Bespin's gonna put a camera in his watch so he can, you know what I mean? He can like stream it from his watch. Yeah,
but like, he will be live.
Tech. Remember Spy Tech? He's got Spy Tech toys, dude. Yeah.
Star Wars Celebration Europe officially kicks off today at 11 a.m. BST. What the fuck is that? I don't even know what that is. BST. With probably the most exciting panel of the event.
Bastard time. Us
Bespin. Bespin Standard Time. Bespin Standard Time. All right, that makes sense now. Most exciting panel of the event. Lucasfilm Studio Showcase, which is
why he's always late for the podcast. He shows up 30 fucking minutes in every time. Like
which is set to provide fans with updates for the next 3 Star Wars movies, with expected release dates of December 2025, 2027, 29. The first movie of the 3, which is being written by Stephen Knight, Peaky Blinders, and to be directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Ms. Marvel, and rumored to have a title and brief synopsis revealed at the panel. The other 2 movies, set to release in 2027 and 29, will likely be those developed by Taika Waititi and Sean Levy, the guy from Free Guys. In addition to a new film slate, we're expected to get significant updates on the Mandalorian spin-off series Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew. The former we exclusively reported 2 months ago will have a trailer at Celebration, which will likely debut in the room and appear online. The latter, Skeleton Crew, is expected to have a presence also, but if footage is shown, there's a chance it's exclusive to those in the room. Both Andor and the Acolyte are slated to appear at the panel, but it's unknown how much or little will be revealed regarding those series, as both aren't slated to release for another year or more. Though it's not a Star Wars project, we're likely getting an update on Lucasfilm's next theatrical release, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is slated to release in June. So a trailer for the blockbuster is a possibility. As for new Star Wars series being announced, there's been no serious rumblings. However,
Time out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that title, Dial of Destiny? Like, how's it growing on you? You liking it anymore? Ambivalent? Less?
I don't like it anymore. I don't hate it anymore. It doesn't work anymore because I don't know what the fuck it is, because they don't want to tell us what it is. They wanted me to hear it from somebody that went to cons, drank 8 beers, tried to get laid, failed, and then started telling people on Reddit. That's how they would rather me learn what that is. So I'm just like, yeah, the title, it could suck. Because I don't know what it is. I don't know if I like it or not. Like I have to like the thing. The thing has to be intriguing. If the Lost Ark was a pizza box, it's a terrible title. Doesn't matter how cool it might sound if you don't know what it is, So that's where I fall on it. Yeah, but is it reminding you of soap like it does me? Like I imagine like ladies.
Dial, yeah.
I imagine like ladies like going like Indiana Jones. And it's like a Harrison Ford soap when I hear it.
I always had to go like, well, what if it was James Bond in the Dial of Destiny, or Doctor Strange in the Dial of Destiny, Captain America in the Dial of Destiny? Like, what configuration does it start to make the most sense? And the Mummy in the Dial of Destiny. I'm trying to
Yeah.
I don't know. Tomb Raider, I think, is the closest I came to, which is essentially Indiana Jones, where I'm like, Tomb Raider in the Dial of Destiny. You know what I mean? Starts to make the most sense. So it's just because Indiana Jones is like such a person. Like, Tomb Raider doesn't sound like a person. Her name is Laura Croft. Like, if it was Laura Croft in the Dial of Destiny, it doesn't sound as good to me for some reason. But when it says Tomb Raider,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about Indiana. Like, if it was Raiders and the Dial of Destiny, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's something else there to it. It's just when it has his name next to it, it sounds odd. But
Indiana
whatever.
Jones and the one where Mutt died in Vietnam.
That's literally the ending to Animal House. Like Mutt died violently in Vietnam.
Jonathan, thank you for the super chat, Jonathan. Jonathan gave a $9.99 super chat and said, Jason and Rob are both great. You guys keep my love for Star Wars alive. I mean this sincerely. That's nice, dude. Rob makes great points, and I feel I agree. I just want better stories, but I'll never leave Star Wars. So you're married. Jonathan's like, you know what? I'm not feeling you right now, but I married you. I made a commitment.
So death do us part.
Yeah.
Fat ass. Keep eating, Rob.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you.
No, I appreciate that, John.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan.
You know what I try to do though, man? Like, I know like my personality, like, especially when I get heated or passionate, whatever you call it. Like, it's I had a friend goes, you're kind of like Angry Joe, but like, you're not an asshole. I'm like, I don't know Angry Joe. I don't know about all that. But like, I don't yell or get angry for like YouTube effect. It's not like a personality thing, right? Like, if I get really passionate, it's because I care. I could be 1,000% critical of something and be 1,000% quiet, like quieter than Max. And that's when like I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Like, what do you want? Like, I've been on projects where it was like, how do you feel about, let's say, Hot Wheels? I'm like, I don't, whatever you want to do, man. Like, it's Hot Wheels. Who cares? Like, I'm not gonna say who cares, but but with Star Wars, it's just, I think with the series, we're in this now, you and me, cognitively since 1983. I don't remember. I went to Empire, but I have no memory of it. So cognitively, in theaters since 1983. And I think we just want to feel like the people making Star Wars or have been a hand of it. And Kathleen was there in 1983, whether she was making Star Wars or not.
Yeah.
She was at the they're on Hawaii together. They're
If
they're having
anybody
reefer.
if anybody
Little
ever
reefer
did cocaine
parties.
with George Lucas, it might be Kathleen Kennedy,
Correct, especially on that Temple of Doom set, especially.
especially on Temple of Doom.
So I would just hope that they've learned and iterated over, what worked, what didn't, and how can we like a genuine sense of like uh personal criticalness in a positive way, not like over evaluating, but in the way that you said, hey, over time, Pearl Jam's become a band that you come to respect more than you did 30 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe they were looking at what they did and they went down a personal path versus a commercial or trying to be commercial path, right?
Right.
And I just when you see Star Wars making the same mistakes, and people go, "Well, I like those mistakes. That's what I like about it." I'm like, "Great for you. I like a lot of fucking weird shit too, but this is something that's going to live or die on its big wins, not on its esoteric nicheness."
Yeah.
So, especially when they have amazing stuff on the plate, like when you see like this is really cool, that's really cool, this is really cool, and then you're like, how did it not get to the end? And it
For
not
like
be a matter of money or talent.
yeah,
What was it?
for me, when it's a really interesting idea and it's really cool and it's crazy, then I could get on board with it. And when it's like out of step with what people logically thought would happen or what the expectation was, then I'm still about it. I'm on board with I think it's brave. But like this week's Mando, for instance, I didn't think was actually brave. I thought it was kind of stupid. You know what I mean? That's not. I was like,
In this
it's
in
not
this
really brave.
specific way for me, right?
Yeah,
Forgetting about all the CSI stuff.
yeah.
The thing that makes it dumb for me is, okay, I don't have a problem with Mando. They didn't want to have Mando and Bo fight. Their whole point was they didn't want to have a rift between them. They needed her and him to come together to unite the clans, like Braveheart in a way.
Yeah.
So if he lost the dark saber to General Vampire Grievous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian Grievous, okay. But when he holds on to it for 8 episodes and it lets her get into a fight with her own clan and then goes, "Oh, actually, this was hers the whole time." You're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, you really think this dude he's spending time with her on a ship, you could have on the ship and like, by the way, this is technically yours, so when you go and see these people, they're going to be looking for him, so just show them the fucking saber. Like he could have
Mm-hmm.
it would not have been an eloquent way to have that, but he could have done it on the ship before they go see those people. But to let her fight and get into all that stuff and
Yeah.
then go, here's the big reveal. It's like that. Come on, man. What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah. It's a weird one to let slip your mind, and like I said, that offended me. That's where I felt like the rules weren't fair that they set up. That I was paying attention, and I wasn't rewarded for paying attention. I think that's bad. So to finish Bespin's article, however, there's been rumors of a new series being produced by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni with the codename Ghost Track 17 being developed, though it could be a new codename for an existing series such as The Mandalorian or The Book of Boba Fett. I'll produce full articles as quick as I can over the next for the news that's revealed, but you can follow along with my live blog below as we have multiple people in the room providing updates as they happen, as the Lucasfilm Studio Showcase will not be streamed for fans at home. Thank you for reading the article, and if you enjoyed it, you could follow it and give him coffee and listen to his Bob podcast, and here's all of his social updates. And right here you can see it's coming in 12 hours. It says that what it's saying right here. I can't really read it. Okay, yeah, 12 hours 55 minutes. That's when he's going to start. So there's a countdown. Look at that final countdown.
the final countdown.
Yeah, right there. I need Nick on the keyboard. Nick, where's Nick? We need Nick on that keyboard. But yeah, so anyways, so in 12 hours, he didn't put the date, but he put the fucking countdown. See, that's why he was like, nah, I'm going to make you think you have a question at the end of this article, but you don't. So, okay, fine. You win, Bespin. You win. So Jonathan asks, how do I become a channel member? So
Well, first you got to go on a hold on. First you got to go to the mines of Mandalore and bathe in the waters, and then you got to
yes.
come back and prove it, and then you got to go off to another planet and solve some CSI crimes, and then while you're there, convince another group of people to let you on to YouTube to sign up for the cult. But
Yeah.
then at the very last second, remind them you were already really in the cult. You never really left it. So
Right.
and then we're right back where we started. So
And yeah, you got to get the dark saber. So I actually at one point I made a video. I
the
wonder if it's
cult
still in
saber,
here.
the cult saber, Jason.
The gold saber.
The cult
Okay.
saber. Yes, that's
I
what we
don't know
have here.
if this is going to work, but I'm gonna try to put it in the chat right now, so that way you can click it on from there, and maybe it will work. Oh, I put it to everywhere, but anyways, there it goes. Grandpa did it. So that's how you that right there. If you go to that URL, which is just at MakingStarWars/membership from YouTube, then there's it's like a little join button, and you click that join button, and then that's how you become a channel member. And if you have any problems, you could just DM me or email me, and I'll send you the link if there's any issues. But I appreciate that, man. And
Thanks.
yeah, I appreciate it a lot. Okay, so I think we've done it. We've gone over the hour now, and we'll adjust this before we go. Before we go, we won't go into it, but Rob, did you like Mario? Me and Rob were talking before the show, and we think we're going to do a little Mario stream this week at some point.
Yeah, we'll do a Mario stream on that.
We'll do a Mario stream, and we'll do like a whole Mario show. We'll just talk about the movie and what we thought
Spoilers.
and that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, we both feel it's a movie you can't really spoil, but we'll
I do.
go there anyways.
How can you?
It's a movie that will be better once people see it, right? Once people have seen it, it'll be better if they watch our thing then as not rather than before.
Well, they can have an informed conversation versus an emotional one, right?
Yeah,
purely emotional, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I liked when Anya Taylor-Joy dressed up as Peach for the premiere. That was fun. That was fun. All right, we'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out what I kind of forgot about Celebration being tomorrow, super early my time. So today, in a coincidence, I got up at 5 a.m. Now. I did just not on purpose. I just did. So there's a good chance I will probably just get up and start covering what Bespin's doing in some way. If it's interesting and if it's inspiring in the moment, I will probably jump on and just like hang out and like read his live blog and tell jokes. And Rob, you don't have to come to that if you want to sleep, but if you wake up and you feel like it, come. But we'll do our normal show still.
What time British Standard? 11?
I think it's 5 a.m. my time is when it starts.
I'm not going to be up for that.
So that would be or are you're 2 hours, right? Are you 2 hours ahead? 1 hour?
1 hour. I get up at 7.
Okay. Yeah, but like I said, he has to get going. Like so anyways, yeah, it'll be in the morning, but he's going to do articles. And then so I want to do like a normal show where we just go through all of the articles, but I want to do a stream just where if I'm awake just watching it, I might just come on. So people can do it if they want. And if you get bored, you could come on.
Everyone's like, it's just one day. It's a celebration. I'm like, yeah, for you, for me, it's like we're gonna have all year to talk about this. So I'm not. If it was like the announcement of the Force Awakens, I would be up. But at this point,
I am a little confused though right now because right now it's saying 12 hours 50 minutes. So that means it would be like 2 a.m, which isn't. Yeah. At one point, I was told it would be like 5, my time, but that's saying 2. So, okay, Dave is very useful. He knows his stuff. So Dave says 5:30 Pacific Standard Time is when it's going to be.
If it's PM, yeah, Yeah, not
Oh
17:30
no, it's
or
5. It's
5:30 or 17:30. What are we talking about here?
no, it's 5:30 in the morning. It's definitely in the morning because
Okay.
Besson was like, "Are you
Yeah.
going to wake up early?" He wasn't asking me if I was going to get up late. So
No, I used to look. The one thing that's happened to me as when I crossed the age of 40 is I have to have a consistent time schedule, and
yeah,
this show has been one thing I've let fuck with that over the last
Mm.
year and a half or so.
But it
And
was Disney
he's not
Plus
been.
Day.
That's what broke me.
Oh.
Book of that and Book of Boba Fett. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this no more. So I love you all, but we got man. There's what kills me the most, Jason, is like there's just all those down period times on the shows where there's no news, and it's like I don't feel the need to cram it. If you and I had look, if we had 150,000 subscribers and we were doing
Oh, sure.
15,000 views an episode, then yeah, I'd get up. But like
Yeah, oh yeah.
we don't have one fucking sponsor, Jason. I don't make
No.
any. All the money goes to keeping Jason's
I
kids
mean,
fed.
you sponsor me.
I spy.
You sponsor me. You give me 5.
So I figure so long as I'm paying more than I'm receiving to be on the show, I get to say no.
Rob gets me 5 refills of this a month.
I do. So I hear you, folks, but unfortunately, you're gonna have to hear me throughout the year anyway. So like, I will
Yeah.
get to it whether you want it or not. I'm getting excited. I hope they put together a good announcement. Like I hope.
And there's like,
Hope it's
what's cool about it is there's sort of like a 2-factor kind of like thing about it. The first is you're excited because the announcement's going to be cool. Then you get to be excited if it actually happens.
You imagine like we're gonna announce what you're getting for Christmas, but it's probably gonna change. You're probably not gonna get that for Christmas. Like that's how it feels. Like imagine if your parents in April told you what you're gonna get for Christmas, but that was probably subject to change throughout the entire year. Then I don't know, like the third time we went through this, or the fifth time, or the seventh time, like could you take any of it? Seriously, like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean that one movie is definitely happening though. Like the 2025 movie, that shit is happening for sure. So what they announce will be at the very bare minimum a shadow of what will be coming out. But I'm
Shadows
still
of the Empire.
oh man, I'm still wondering if it's going to be Stephen Knight who's announced as the writer, or if he just wrote the script and then they're hiring the next writer. Because yesterday the writer's strike stuff, or 2 days ago, I think Deadline reported that they're voting on the writer's strike. They're doing it.
Yeah.
They're voting, and there is no way in hell that the writers are going to vote no strike. Is my point from the way that it seems. I don't believe that is going to happen. So they're going to vote to strike, and then they are going to strike. Is the point, because nothing has happened. No ground has been gained. Nothing has changed. So, point being,
the last time we went through this, Jason, we got The Apprentice. You know what I mean?
Oh shit!
Like that's the truth. And I'm like, what fucking psycho shit what weird unintended consequence is going to come out of this simply because some fucking distributors can't like cut a person a decent fucking paycheck for their work. So
yeah, we'll see.
I don't know.
It'll be bad. But also WB is announcing has a movie slated for that same day too.
Sure.
For 2025 is what they say. So
okay,
I'm like,
that could be could insert horror film counter programming movie there. If you think they're gonna put a superhero movie against Star Wars, you're nuts. It's a counter programming move,
Yeah.
So
yeah, either it's counter programming or it's one of the stupidest games of chicken in the world.
Well, they'll move. They moved Aquaman out the way of Avatar smartly. Like so, yeah. I just hope that none of the films announced have the word rise in its title. Like, we need to ban the word rise from every title moving forward. I don't want rise in none of it.
Yeah. And I am with you here. Hopefully a Taika release date and synopsis. Yeah, I'm hoping to, because they just announced Taika for a third time. It's like, I just shut up about that. We don't want to hear it. We know you're not announcing it. That's nothing new. And so hopefully if they tell us like what it's called and what it's like somewhat about, you know, that would at least make it like, oh, well, at least now it's interesting. If it never happens, it's interesting that that movie about that thing never happened, as opposed to
It's
just.
called
Mhm.
it's called Star Wars and the Dial of Dooku.
Oh, Dial of Dooku.
Dial of Dooku.
Okay.
It's gonna bind it all together. We're gonna
Indiana
Yeah.
Jones and the Destiny's Child, because he lives into the 90s. Maybe.
and Indiana Jones and the Outcast, and Indiana Jones and the Andre 3000, and Indiana Jones and the Bugaboo, and
Mhm.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Do it all day. Yeah.
And we got the one where we find out Indy shot Biggie. All right. Anyways, we're gonna go. We're gonna go. Yeah. He likes Tupac.
No.
But he likes Tupac. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. I think I'm going to be here in the morning covering stuff intermittently that goes on. If it's inspiring, if it's not, if it's like, oh, Star Wars, you know, Star Wars is getting a cartoon with a clone in it, and I know, but I won't do that.
Bad Batch season 3.
Yeah, Bad Batch season 3. I probably won't.
I don't
won't do
care.
it.
I got all
Yeah.
these people telling me it's the greatest. It had a really good story. I'm like, then have at it, Haas. I'm
yeah.
not into it. You know, like
Yeah.
it ain't for me. You into Chef War? Chef War? No. And then there you go. It ain't for you. You know, I'm into Chef Wars. So
He's in the Chef Wars. He's in the. All right, everybody.
Yes.
We'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night. I'm gonna try to end the show. It might not end. It may not end.
End of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.